The system does not need to rob you. It only needs to dilute you slowly enough that you never notice until the damage is already done. You work more hours, receive a raise, and save more diligently than previous generations. Yet the number in your account buys less each year. Not because you failed, but because the unit of measurement itself is being quietly eroded beneath the surface. This is not a side effect, it is the design. When governments spend beyond tax revenue, they borrow. When borrowing becomes unsustainable, monetary expansion becomes the pressure release mechanism. The savings held inside that system absorb the cost, not through a visible tax bill, but through declining purchasing power. Public narratives often blame supply chains, commodities, or geopolitical disruption. Those factors matter, but they are not the complete explanation. Inflation is also the predictable consequence of a monetary architecture that spends beyond productive capacity and finances the gap through expansion. What erodes your savings is not bad luck, it is structural incentive, operating exactly as designed. To understand why this persists across administrations and decades, stop asking who is at fault and ask who benefits. Governments carry debt. When inflation rises, the real purchasing power value of that debt declines. A government can repay nominal obligations with currency that purchases less than it did when the debt was issued. This is not a metaphor, it is arithmetic, and one of the central incentives embedded within sovereign debt systems. Consider this: the Bretton Woods framework constrained monetary expansion by linking currency issuance to gold reserves. When Richard Nixon closed the gold window in 1971, the primary structural brake on money supply growth was removed. The consequences were gradual rather than immediate, but the direction was clear across the decade that followed. The Federal Reserve became the primary mechanism through which monetary conditions were managed and credit cycles were shaped. During successive periods of credit expansion, asset prices were repriced upward, concentrating gains among holders of appreciating assets. Here is the structure: new money enters through financial channels before reaching wages and consumer prices. This is the Cantillon effect. Those closest to issuance capture benefits first, while savers absorb inflation later. Borrowers, leveraged investors, and asset holders often benefit. Cash savers positioned furthest from issuance absorb the cost. In a system where monetary expansion outpaces wage growth, holding currency becomes a structurally losing position over time. This pattern is not modern. Monetary history contains repeated versions of the same underlying mechanism. In the later Roman Empire, silver content was repeatedly reduced to finance obligations that taxation could not support. The logic remained constant: spend beyond collection capacity, then reduce the real value of the settlement unit. The Weimar Republic demonstrated the extreme case. Monetary expansion accelerated until savings denominated in currency were devastated. The lesson is not prophecy, the lesson is incentive structure, and the direction incentives tend to favor. Since 2000, U.S. money supply growth has dramatically exceeded growth in real wages adjusted for purchasing power. The gap between monetary expansion and wage growth functions as a hidden tax that never appears on a paycheck. When currency supply expands faster than productive output, observable patterns emerge with remarkable consistency. Asset prices rise in nominal terms. Often this is described as wealth creation, though much of it is monetary repricing. Assets become more expensive not only because they improve, but because the measuring unit loses value. Negative real interest rates create another consequence. Savings grow numerically, while purchasing power quietly declines. Quantitative easing expanded central bank balance sheets dramatically, increasing liquidity while reshaping asset valuations across markets. During the pandemic response, trillions in spending and asset purchases accelerated inflationary pressure throughout the economy. The question is not whether this structure exists. The question is how rational actors position themselves within it. Understanding the structure changes the problem definition. The issue is not merely income, it is monetary storage. Your savings account is not a vault, it is a position in an asset class subject to ongoing dilution. This is not cause for panic. Panic belongs to those who do not understand the incentives at work. Capital is typically preserved by those who recognize structural advantages before they become obvious to everyone else. Historically, constrained supply assets provided alternatives. Today, Bitcoin introduces another monetary structure with fixed issuance rules. This matters because the distinction is structural, not speculative. Storage mechanisms determine long-term outcomes. Discipline means evaluating where value is stored based on incentives and architecture, not temporary noise. Stewardship is responsibility to future autonomy, family resilience, and independence from systems that benefit from passivity. The architecture of monetary dilution is documented, measurable, and historically consistent. The remaining variable is whether you understand it. This is 21 Protocol. Freedom is not a feeling, it is a structure. If you do not build yours, they will build over you.